In today's episode of the Pathway Presents podcast, I have an interesting guest here with me today. I'm with Melissa Kwan from eWebinar. And with eWebinar, they're tackling a super interesting problem. If your team is thinking about an efficient yet effective webinar strategy, you might want to listen to today's episode because they're bringing a very new approach, interesting approach to the webinar space. So Melissa, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Lucas.
Sure. So yeah, I mentioned webinars is what you guys are all about. The name gives it obviously away. Maybe before we go sort of, deeper, for everybody who hasn't heard about you guys yet, what is eWebinar all about?
Yeah, so eWebinar saves people from doing the same webinar over and over again. So you can imagine demos, onboarding, trainings, customer updates, feature updates, customer education, anything where you have to repeat a presentation, maybe on Zoom over and over. We help automate that by turning any video into a webinar without losing that one-on-one chat that makes webinars so valuable.
Yep, that makes a whole lot of sense. Now, in which scenarios do you typically see that happening? Is that you mentioned a couple of use cases there, but is there certain types of companies that benefit the most? Should I have a certain cadence of webinars for it being actually relevant? Like when I'm doing them on live, like where do you see like a sweet spot basically?
I mean, our sweet spot is definitely customer success teams of SaaS companies. We, of course, have non-tech companies using this as well. But as you can imagine, SaaS companies, their revenue is dependent on adoption, conversion, and lowering churn. So your customers, when they come on board, they constantly need to be educated on your product, new features, be taught about your new product in order to adopt it. So a lot of times these companies are doing maybe 1 to 2 trainings or 1 to 2 onboardings per month, which may not be effective, or they're uploading a video on Wistia or YouTube, which, are people going to watch it or not, right? So companies are really using eWebinar to deliver over 100 sessions every single month. So imagine how many people that requires. So that's really one sweet spot. And then I would say the second one is really using this to deliver on-demand demos. As you can imagine, people don't want to be sold to, right? Especially now. They want to get the information when they want it at their own time, but they also want to be able to reach out to you when they want, right? Not when you want to call them. So definitely sales and marketing, using eWebinar to deliver a demo, allowing your prospects to learn about your product whenever they want is also a sweet spot for us.
Very cool. Now, the one thing with eWebinars that actually, even the Pathway team has been looking in different solutions there. The one thing that strikes always is, how real does it feel, and does it feel like artificial? Is there certain things that kind of where the chat all of a sudden doesn't match the content anymore, and this kind of stuff? How do you think about this? Like, what's important? Like, what is the key ingredients for making this an authentic and real experience?
I think the number one key thing is you never lie to your customers. Like, authenticity is your currency, right? Especially for startups. I mean, for all companies, but really especially for startups, right? You can't compete on resources. You have to compete on your word and integrity. So I see, we definitely encourage our customers, like, do not lie to people and say this is live when it's not, because it's very quick for people to figure that out. But what's wrong with saying, hey, this is a recorded demo or this is a recorded onboarding, but I'm managing the chat. If you don't hear back from me immediately, you will hear back from me on email. Like, that is an authentic pre-recorded experience, right? Never say like, hey, I'm live, and pretend people are here. Hey, Wendy. Hey, Lucas. Like, I see people doing that, and it just makes me cringe. Like, please don't do that. And to take it a step further, we consciously did not put in features that help the host lie to consumers. We don't have fake chat. You cannot load in a fake chat. We do not have a fake counter. We do not have fake sales notifications like maybe other solutions have, because the last thing I want is for somebody to be in an eWebinar experience and think to themselves, hey, last time I was here, I was tricked into buying something, right? So I think the number one key ingredient is like, just be honest about what this is. And because it's a recorded webinar, the quality of the video is much higher. Right? How many times have we watched a replay and the video quality is low, you're being interrupted, people asking questions that you don't care about? Because it's pre-recorded, the content can be much tighter, it can be shorter, and the video quality is almost like watching Netflix, right? So I think from that perspective, it's an enhanced experience from a live webinar where you have a lot of connection issues, you require a lot of bandwidth. Maybe you have customers that are in places with poor internet connection, and their experience is actually hindered because it's live, right? So it's kind of just a different way of thinking about it.
Yep, no, that's actually a super interesting angle, because there seems to be that higher value in a live session. And you actually don't think so much about the other way, like is the experience actually better for everybody or not? That makes a lot of sense.
Well, I think it's a perceived higher value, right? Like, is it higher value that I watch Seinfeld live, right? If that's true, then no one's ever going to watch the reruns, right? Why is it so good for me to watch Netflix versus going to cable? Because I can press play whenever I want. The video quality is really high. I can stop it in the middle and come back to it. I can browse through a library and I don't have to block time off. Like if I told you, hey, Lucas, you can only watch your favorite show next Tuesday at 11, what are you going to do? You're going to register for it and then you're not going to show up, right? Which is what we do now with a lot of business content.
And why do you think there is that perceived or that perception of that a live session has, or maybe it's not out there for everybody, but at least I think there's a lot of marketers who think that way, that there would be a higher value in a live session. What do you think are the elements, and maybe how can you actually sort of solve them with a product like yours?
I mean, I think it's habit, right? Like, I think the idea of webinar automation is not like a CRM. Like everybody knows what a CRM is, right? But at the same time, like, let's just say GoToWebinar, in the past, right? Like when webinars first came out, people think, well, no, like if I meet someone at a coffee shop, it's better. But now people are like, well, no, because I'm in Germany and you're in Amsterdam. So let's just meet online. We don't have to hop on a train. We don't have to hop on a flight. But like, is it better that I meet you like in 2 days in real time? Or is it better that we just get this over with?
Yep.
Right. So I think the perceived value comes from, this is the way we've always done things. And what we're here to do is just take a look at what we're doing here, experience it for yourself, because it's not something that can be verbalized, right? Video is something that has to be seen and experienced. So like, that's why our demo is delivered through eWebinar. I don't do live demos because otherwise I would be going against my product. But I do think that we're here to change people's minds and just to give them a different idea of how else they can do things. And we're not here to replace one-on-one meetings or live meetings. We're just here to replace the repetitive robotic stuff so you can free up your time to do things that do require your unique attention, like this conversation that we're having right now.
That makes a lot of sense. Very cool. Now, how do people hear about eWebinar? Like, what's the journey that they typically go through? What's the sort of the channels that you guys are exploring?
Yeah, so I would say that for, marketing is constantly evolving, right? As you guys know, we're constantly trying to figure that out. Our biggest user acquisition channel is definitely through content. So we invest a lot in content and SEO and just writing amazing content, whether it's about webinars or not, just amazing content that allows people to come to our website to learn more about us. But also like really focused on building just an incredible product that when someone else attends an eWebinar, like not our eWebinar, it could be like your demo, it could be your onboarding, and they might think to themselves, hey, what is this? Because it looks so different than the Zoom webinar I was just at. Because eWebinar feels more like interactive TV, right? Everything's branded, it's colorful, you can program in polls, resources, questions. So as an attendee, you're almost participating. And that's very different than another experience where I go into a Zoom and you're just talking at me for an hour. So a lot of discovery actually comes through people joining someone else's webinar and then looking us up and seeing, okay, this is what this is, and I should have it for my business. Very
cool. What do you think is the role of the website? Like, how do you think about the website in their journey?
I mean, that is your storefront, right? Like, I mean, even if you have no product, your website can still sell the product, right? Like, that's kind of our like most basic MVP, right? So that's why we invested heavily into our branding. Like, who do we want to be? How do we want people to feel when they come to our website? Because if you come to our website and you're turned off by it, or it doesn't make you feel like we're an established, maybe funky company, it's not going to take you to the demo. So we actually mimicked our branding after MailChimp because we wanted to be a B2B company, but not like a Salesforce, right? We wanted it to be fun. We want to appeal to startups, but also small, medium-sized companies. But we also wanted an enterprise to come through and feel like we're established, but we're energetic and fun, right? So all the colors that we chose are very colorful, they're sharp. And that's the, like, that was kind of the first investment. We actually spent about like 4 months on our branding and then designing the website, and then about 1.5 years building the product. So I would think, like, still today, the website is like your most important marketing piece.
Very cool. Now, since we talk about the website, we talk a lot about conversions on the podcast quite naturally, sort of to, you know, what we're in the space that Pathfunk is. Now, I see on your page the quick eWebinar overview and demo sort of snippet where you can join a demo right now. Maybe tell us a little bit. Does that, you know, did you notice that it's driving conversions, that people can go into the demo right now versus having this perception of the demo will be later, versus just watching a demo? Like, sort of, you know, is there something that you've maybe found in there to be sort of a nugget of insight?
Yeah, so this is actually super interesting that you bring that up. One of the most annoying things for, I think, a lot of people is going to someone's website, wanting to see a product and needing to fill in a form. And then it goes to somebody in cyberspace. Someone gets back to you 1 or 2 days later. You have to book a time on someone's calendar. And then maybe you're in different time zones. And then finally you figure out a time to see the product when you just want to see the product. Mm-hmm. And like, I think Trust Radius has a stat that I love, which is 87% of buyers prefer to do their own research during their buyer's journey, and 57% of people already buy without a sales agent. So if you are not making your demo available to people when they want to see it, they're going to go to your competitor who is making it available, because nobody, trust me, nobody wants to get on the phone. I don't even want to get on the phone, and I'm a salesperson. Right. So I think one of the most interesting stats that I saw was how many people, what percentage of people actually choose to join the demo right now. Mm-hmm. So of course, our demos delivered through eWebinar. We have 3 different scheduling options that you can create as you create your eWebinar. Mm-hmm. One is you can watch on demand, like right now. 2 is you can schedule a future session. And 3 is you can choose to watch a replay, which is really the exact same video, but you can control the playback. Mm. If you watch it on demand or if you watch it in the future, then you can't control the playback, but you will get a replay link afterwards. 90% of people that join the demo choose to watch it on demand. Mm-hmm. And in the past 6 months, 1,500 people have joined my demo. Mm-hmm. And I haven't delivered it once live. So I was also dubious about whether people would actually watch it right now. Mm-hmm. But I was wrong, right? 90% of people actually watch that. So that is actually why on all of our webinars, all of our demos, I put how long it is. So I'll put it's a 20-minute demo, because I want people to make the decision on whether they have that time to watch it right now. So I actually think for on-demand webinars and asynchronous webinars, that's a trick to get people to commit right now. Just tell them how long it is, so they can choose whether they want to watch it now or maybe schedule it for tomorrow. Mm-hmm.
No, that makes a whole lot of sense. Actually, I wanted to sort of, it's like a super micro question packed in there, because knowing that it could happen in a couple of minutes or it could happen right now is obviously a very different thing than we already expect it's going to be later. Have you seen that is changing conversion behavior from the websites? If I know I can get actually to the demo right now versus I have to schedule, like just that moment of maybe joy or inspiration, even to just get the insight now. Is there something in there when it comes to conversions, you think? I mean,
we've never done anything different, right? Because we are this product that allows people to get to it right now. But my previous company was an enterprise SaaS product. You would have to request for the demo, and then you would have to book a time on my calendar. I would say that I do lose a lot of people that are like, just send me a video. I don't want to get on a call, but we didn't have one. But also my product was in a different price point because it was enterprise SaaS. It wasn't, it didn't have a $50 starting price point. So people, like, I wanted people to get on a call. So I would say that based on my previous experience, you do lose people that maybe just aren't ready to get on a one-on-one call, but they still want to do their research. Right. So I would say for this company, I'm not sure, but based on my previous company, like, definitely you're definitely losing people by not showing them what you have.
Very cool. I would like to switch gears a little bit. We talked about what you guys are doing, how you're serving your customers, also how they're finding you and getting started. I would love to learn a little bit more about yourself, right? There's so much content out there. When building out a product, building out a company, where do you personally like to educate yourself? Like, where do you find high quality content, peers, information where you think it actually, makes sense to spend the time on?
I definitely spend a lot of time on LinkedIn, and I'm like ashamed of saying that a little bit because I think it's like a double-edged sword, right? Like on one side, I learn a lot on there because it's become like the one place where people share their knowledge, their experience, and things like that. But it can also, especially as a bootstrap entrepreneur, be a very toxic place because you also don't know, like, all people talk about is like hyper growth and all this money that they raise and all these people that they're hiring. And then it kind of makes you feel bad about yourself, right? Because, we are bootstrapped and we're growing slowly, right? We're not like experiencing this hyper growth. So, but there is a lot of valuable content on there. And then of course I'm in a couple Slack communities as well. I was part of On Deck a couple of years ago. So any like kind of growth related, SaaS related content that I want to find, I would reach out to my community on there as well. And then just like having conversations like what we're having now, going through private networks, wanting to talk to people that's been where I am right now. If I reach out to my network, there's usually like one or two people that get recommended to me that I can have these conversations with.
Very cool. I got some rapid fire questions to wrap it up for today. Are you ready for those?
Yeah, sure.
What is the last book you read, or the one book that you would recommend to any sort of founder, a growth marketer, or in any way sort of like software growth individual?
Presentation Secrets of Steve Jobs.
Okay. Do you have a sort of short insight what it's about and why?
Yeah, so he didn't write it, Carmine Gallo did. It is like my one business Bible. It's a book about how you can structure your presentation in order to guide people to a desired outcome, but not in a sleazy way, right? In a way that really allows you to surface your value propositions and deliver them in a way that people can understand. And I think for any founder, even if you're not in sales, understanding storytelling is going to help not just in your product, but with recruiting, creating content, and even like in your personal relationships.
What was the name of the book again for everybody who wants to look it up?
The Presentation Secrets of Steve Jobs.
Mm-hmm. Very cool. Next question. What's the one thing that your company is focused on the most at the moment?
Revenue. Is there anything else? Like just revenue.
Makes sense. We can move on. If there would be no boundaries in tech, what's the one thing that you would fix for your role for the company?
Wow, if there are no boundaries in tech, I would recreate, I would clone me. I would just recreate me so I could go and have fun while my clone does my job for me.
That sounds good. What is the last thing that kept you awake at night about the company?
Recruiting, definitely recruiting. And as the world is, as everybody's moving towards outsourcing, and we are a fully outsourced company, that is getting harder and harder, especially when you do not have the resources to compete.
Anything that you've learned on the way for that? Any sort of like methods, technologies for people who are listening? I'm not sure if you want to share your secrets on that since it's already hard, but maybe there's a pointer, what you learned.
Yeah, I think the one thing that I've learned is stay really true to your vision, because when you have such limited resources, you cannot recruit people based on resources. You have to recruit people based on what you are trying to achieve with your mission and your company. And you have to find people that connect with that. And if they connect with it, they will be your biggest cheerleaders, and they would be willing to work with you on less salary, at least to begin with. If you don't stay true to that, it's going to be very difficult for you to appeal to anybody.
For the very last question, I'd like to do a little bit of time travel. Let's go back to the very first day working on eWebinar. What's the one advice you would give yourself? Imagine yourself back to the very first day you started working on it.
Find a tech co-founder.
That's very, very straight up, very straightforward, very good. Cool. So no, I really appreciate you took the time with us today to be a guest on the show. I want to give you the very last word. If somebody would be forgetting all that we discussed about eWebinar, what's the one thing that they should remember?
That you can build your business without being there 24/7. And that is our mission. We want to give you your time back. Being more productive, working harder, does not always bring happiness and success. You have to take care of yourself and just know that you don't have to be there all the time in order to grow your business and be successful.
Thanks a lot for being a guest on Pathfund Presents.
Thanks so much.